I am your host today, Anthony Anton, President and CEO of Washington Hospitality Association, and lifelong Pierce County guy from birth to whatever 2020 is. I'm not quite sure. And so I'm excited, as always, to host these calls. Also want to introduce our partners. You can see them on the screen here. We are blessed. If there's anything positive that's come out of this wacky year is that we've all started working together as one like in no other year. And so I'm doing the talking, but the reality is this is for all of us, from Travel Tacoma and Dean and his team there, the Tacoma Pierce County Chamber and their great team there, and the Puyallup Sumner Chamber of Commerce. We're all working together to do everything we can to help the Pierce County businesses hopefully survive and then be set up to thrive as we move forward. So with that, I know I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction on what the current state of the industry is. And we've got some questions from the members on that. And Lisa, will you give me a heads up when County Exec Dammeier
Absolutely.
comes on in, or if there's any update on his arrival. So with that, I want to do a state of the industry, a little bit of an update on our view of the virus, and our crystal ball. And again, I really would love this to be interactive and a chance to ask each other questions as we go. This is the latest numbers from Pierce County as of this month. The ones that just got released, actually, which is back in July. And you can see that we are recovering jobs. I do think the Triple P is helping prop up some jobs right now. But we can tell that from our low, we lost 50% of our workforce in Pierce County. And we've gradually been coming back. We're still down 20% year over year. Again, I think that's a little bit propped up because of the ability to have the Triple P money help us bring our teams back to work. A couple of notes. Pierce County has not been impacted as much as the state. So when you watch TV at night or hear the radio and you hear state numbers, Pierce County's been, excuse me, faring just a little bit better. It's still a horrible year. But the state lost 55% of it from its high to its low, and it's still down 30% year over year. And King County seems to be one of the slowest to recover. I think we all have seen the issues going on in Seattle. And King County is down 40% still, even with the summer going on. Our great friends on the lodging side of our industry are also having every bit of struggle, even though restaurants get a lot of the press. RevPAR, which is the main measurement for hotels, is still down 35% year over year. So recap, 2020 sucks. All that is data to prove what we're all feeling and how we're doing and going from there. I do want to switch to some good news. And that is, last time we talked, which was in early August, I'm not sure I was sleeping at night because the virus had kept going up and up and up and up. And if the numbers didn't start coming down, I was very, very worried the next step would be a California or New Mexico or New York style closure of our industry again. The good news is those numbers did start coming down since our last town hall, and they kept coming down. So much far to a point as we're now talking about we can see 25 from here, kind of like Sarah Palin can see Alaska from her doorstep. we can see 25 from where we stand today. So if the numbers continue to drop for the remainder of September, we have a chance to see 25. And I'll talk about why that is so important to us. I know many of you know that, this is a really, really important number. So we'll go from there. Our crystal ball, a little bit on the crystal ball. we need to change the regulations before fall. When the wind kicks up and when the cold comes in, two-sided tents are not going to make for outdoor dining to be feasible anymore. We all know it in the industry. And so the association is pulling out all stops that we know how to pull out, that if the numbers allow us to change the regulations, we need to do so before the weather changes. And that was even before smoke came in and clouded the last few weeks of summer here. So that's only going to happen. We're only going to be able to change the things we can change if that chart I showed you earlier continues to head towards 25. So please wear masks. Please encourage good behavior. Please talk to our counterparts, your neighbors, about the importance of being positive and doing those things. I also want to say, while I'm being positive and I'm hopeful to change some of the regulations, I also want to be really honest, the ability to go back to where we were before COVID, I think is now sliding into the second half of next year. And so if we can make a good and several tweaks in the regulations, that'll be positive. But to reopen dining fully, to move away from the restrictions, but we're generally calling phase 4, I think right now that is sliding back into the second half of next year. So we need to make these changes so we can survive these 10 months in between. I get asked every day from the media, well, how many restaurants are closed, are going to close, what's it look like? And the same answer I gave last month is the same answer I'm giving now. I don't know. Is Congress going to do another round of Triple P? Is there going to be a flu season spike? What happens when kids go back to school? Does it spread the disease like wildfire? All these things are unknown. But at some point you have to pick a budget and you have to make a decision. And for your association, we had to turn on our budget yesterday. And so we had to take our stab in the dark. And I thought it was honest and transparent just to let you know what our wild ass guess was. And that's what we're counting. We're budgeting for 35% permanent loss of full service independent restaurants. I hope that's wrong. I hope that doesn't turn out to be true. I hope that's pessimistic. At some point you have to budget for some number. And that's what we're looking at based on a lot of interviews and conversations and look at historical data, and that this is an all-time low for the industry. If you're a legislator or other person, keep in mind, every one of those restaurants that close, for every $1 million in sales, that on average results in a loss of $160,000 in taxes. So as we're talking to our community leaders and they talk about how much of a hole the state is in and the budget hole, one of the best things they can do to start filling that budget hole is to get us back to work and to open up the industry and let us start moving again. Specifically on the lodging side, I think state-to-state travel, as I said last month, I still continue to believe it's going to be down for a minimum of 2 years. And that in-state travel, it needs to be where we fill in our occupancy rates. I will say the good news for August is a lot of our state did travel. And based on what we're seeing for occupancy rates, outdoor areas in August had a good recovery. So the coast, some areas of central Washington, and areas where you could enjoy all the outdoors that the Washington has to offer. We did see a lot of in-state travel for the kind of the first time this year in August. And so hopefully that means that a plan really dedicated on getting our own people in our state to explore Washington can help our lodging recover somewhat. So that's my crystal ball. We've gotten a handful of questions here. Lisa, how long do I have before I need to wrap this up? How far away is County Exec Dammeier?
You're good to go right now.
Do we have a time?
Not yet.
Okay. Joe, if you could help her out in tracking that down. You're going to continue to see our push. I know not everyone loves masks, but the reality is masks do reduce the virus. And early on, I was a skeptic of masks, of how in hospitality Can we smile at people, make eye contact, communicate at the table and at guests with our folks, and wear masks? But what we're seeing in outbreaks is the outbreaks are occurring almost solely in areas, in places that are not wearing masks or not adhering to staying at the table social distancing. So our industry does have over 90 outbreaks, but almost all of them are centered on that 5% non-compliers who are not mandating or really regulating their staff wearing masks and or allowing their guests to still walk around the restaurant as if it was still January and the bar scene was open. And so we are working with Liquor Control Board and others to get those down. My plea for you is we can turn these regulations back if we can get to 25, and the masks are the best way to do it. So if you haven't downloaded these and made these posters and done social media, all the links are there to do so. Please do so. With that, I want a couple of the questions that have been asked of us from members. What's going on with the federal government? And well, that was an awfully big question, but I think specifically what people are asking about is, can we hope for another round of Triple P or the Restaurant Act or whatever kind of relief that's out there? That last round of Triple P is running out for people this month. And what kind of hope can we offer there? Joe, are you back in the background? Can you give us the latest update on the federal activity and what we do know, recognizing there's a lot we don't know?
I'm getting a hold of Executive Dammeier's office on the phone right now.
Okay. When you're back, let me know, and I will key up that question.
Oh, there he is.
Next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Joe, are you back? Is that your?
Looks like Executive Dammeier has just popped on.
Okay. So Joe, I just fed you the question on the federal. We had one of our members ask, is there any hope for Triple P or relief or the Restaurant Act or some kind of thing that can help sustain us? Because Triple P has been such a great program for many over the summer, and it's running out. So what's the latest news from Congress?
Right now, Congress is still at an impasse on things actually outside of PPP that is holding up PPP funding. There is a lot of bipartisan support, and they understand the critical needs that PPP provides to many of our small businesses. But there are, in the leadership in Congress, there are some differences on other issues that is holding up PPP funding. I know there's some movement in the House for some PPP-specific legislation to get passed, and more information on that will be forthcoming. Each side has priorities on what they would like to expand upon. There's some that want to be very specific and narrow on how they address the COVID issues, and then there's another group that would like to be more expansive and have a lot of extra things involved with that. And so as they work through that process, we'll definitely keep you all up to date on what's going on, and be on the lookout for some urgent calls to specific representatives in the House, because we have some upcoming specific PPP legislation. That's currently what's going on right now.
Okay. Well, I see County Executive Dammeier. Are you able to join in? And I know it's always fun to log into a Zoom meeting and get it all to work. We're so happy to have you with us today. Can you hear us okay?
You bet. Yeah, it sounds good from my perspective. I think this is the device I plan to use this afternoon. Is this what we were trying to do, is get on board and test?
We are actually going right now. So we are live. Our test was a little earlier, and
perfect.
And we're on board. So we've got about 45 restaurant operators and hotel operators and hospitality folks with us, all right here, and you're in my hometown of Pierce County.
Absolutely. I'm excited to join you. Looking forward to you. I think we're on the calendar. I think I'm on the calendar for later on today as well, right?
We'll follow up with that right on the call. I don't think so, but maybe there's one with Joe or something that I'm not on in the moment. So I think we're on now until about 11. Can you still stay with us, or do you have a time?
Sure.
Frame? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
It's good to join you. This is a tough time for everybody, particularly challenging time for the Hospitality Association.
Well, thank you. It's, I sit on the governor's Economic Recovery Council, and we look at all the industries, and any layoff of a job is bad, but our industry is still in that 35-40% job loss ratio, where many others are still at 10 to 15. And any 1% is horrible, but I think it just speaks to how many of our team members are out of work, how many people are on the edge. And, we saw a couple of big announcements this week. You and I being in the county for a long time, those were classic places we saw close. And I know from the phone calls I'm getting, there are more coming. But before I go into that, you're leading during, I know you didn't sign up for, hey, let me be a leader during COVID. These are unprecedented times. How are you doing? Give us a sense of what your shoes are like these days.
Well, 2020 is the year that just keeps giving and giving and giving. We were sitting there kind of wrestling through COVID and coming down off in Pierce County, which is what I'm calling our July peak, right? It went up quite high and is now down. As of yesterday, our 14-day rolling average was about 35. We're getting daily numbers in the 20s, which is good. Down from a rolling 14-day average on August 3rd, which was about 96. So we're down quite a bit from there, which feels very, very good. No one liked that spike, but the good news for Pierce County was that even with that spike in new cases, we didn't see a corresponding spike in hospitalizations or deaths. So I feel very good about that. We had a lot more people kind of get the virus. And I think it is also a function of the fact that we've gotten kind of more robust testing out there. That's certainly, I wouldn't say it's all attributable to testing at all, but I am proud of the work that we have done to get we got 4 mobile testing groups out there throughout Pierce County. And if you've got a group that wants to get tested, we will come to your doorstep, no charge, no symptoms, anything. Anybody who wants to get tested gets tested right now. So that's kind of one of our approaches. I figure anytime that we're testing somebody, one of 3 good things happens. Either they find out they have the virus, at which point they can start taking the appropriate steps. They find out they didn't have the virus, at which point they may be a little bit relieved, and we get another data point. And right now we need to increase our understanding of this virus right now. I would say one of our primary focuses, so we've got at the county, we've got $158 million in federal CARES Act money that we're able to use in the best way possible to constructively help and positively help our community get through these unprecedented times. About $67 million of that is going toward what we're calling the public health response and preparation for the next phase. So that includes things like testing, widespread testing. We've got 500,000 test kits. We've got these mobile testing centers out there throughout the community. It includes funding our really rigorous contract investigation and follow-up. So if somebody does get sick, we've got our drop teams out of there. So there's a lot of efforts there, including personal protective equipment to make sure that all our hospitals and first responders and public health people are prepared now and into the future. The second group, we've got $30 million into what we're calling community response and resilience. This is how we help our broader community through that. That has been included things like expanding our funding for food banks, things like that. People who have now become, with their job losses, have become really unstable in their own personal life in terms of food security. We've got money in there kind of to help people with childcare. We've got money in there to help people get retrained into new jobs. We've got a significant amount of money, $14 million rolling out in terms of rental assistance. This is where one of the things that we're trying to do is keep our community as stable as we can and help them get through this. So we want to make sure that people aren't losing their homes and that landlords aren't losing their homes. Those landlords have mortgages to pay as well. The third box, we've got $25 million going into what we're calling is economic stabilization and recovery. And that's all about, the previous one was all about helping kind of individuals survive. This box, this 25 million, is all about helping businesses and jobs survive this crazy time. We've got a number of things we have done there. First of all, we gave away over 2 million pieces of personal protective equipment, masks and thermometers, as we moved into phase 2. So the businesses and churches and organizations that were going there could do so safely. We've also got, we're also doing our mobile test kits to businesses that want it, but we've got just over $10 million now in our rental assistance for businesses or mortgage assistance. So we've got particularly focusing on those businesses and industries that have been particularly hard hit by the coronavirus. Some haven't even been able to open yet at all. And even some that could technically open, it's so minimal, or their industry has been hit so hard that it isn't effective, right? If you're in the tourism business in Pierce County right now, you have just been hit really hard. Even though you theoretically might be able to open, there's really no viability there. So we've got kind of money available to help these businesses that have really been hit hard get through kind of rental assistance, helping them pay their bills to get going. Our key is we want to get our community through this as constructively and as helpful as we can. I would say, as I look forward, there's still a bit of I don't know when we're going to get to phase 3. I'm hoping that we might be in a position where certainly by the end of the month, we might be able to apply for phase 3. Currently, the governor still has all movement closed. But until then, it's all about, and my approach is, if I want to make sure that we're all masking, I want to make sure we're all social distancing, I want to make sure we're all washing our hands. Anything we can do that gets a business back opened or a kid back in school, those are all good things for our community.
Well, you're singing a really good song to a choir that really needs to hear it. So we appreciate all of that. We've got a handful of questions coming in, but I'll start with a couple of mine.
Okay.
If I can. You and the county exec of Snohomish County, Dave
Summers.
Dave Summers did a really good job when we were trying to get to phase 2 of communicating publicly, urging open. Our industry is going to lose outdoor dining here in probably 3-4 weeks, right? We've lost it now because of the smoke, right? I can no longer see, across the water from Browns Point over to the beautiful city of Tacoma. But we are going to lose our outdoor dining here shortly. So that urge to move to phase 3 and make indoor dining feasible again is a really heavy weight on the industry. How can we work with you on a respectful and public message to say how important it is that as winter changes, if it's safe to do so, let's move the ball so businesses can be more successful?
No, I think absolutely that's about the transition at this point. And I think that's, I talked before about one of the goals of testing, right? Everything we are doing is learning more about the virus. And in some cases, we can remember back to the beginning, there were some things that we were being recommended to do now that we think are the opposite. Think of it, I can remember at the very beginning, we were urged not to mask. Now we know that with COVID, masking is very effective. And I attribute that to the key to our kind of numbers coming down is kind of widespread masking in Pierce County. So part of what I would say for you and the hospitality industry is to be kind of proofing the systems, the precautions that are working, right? We know we've got a lot of folks doing dining even in now and outside. So let's make sure we're getting good data on the precautions that you have taken and what is the incident. Are they being fully effective? Are they being successful? What have you seen among all of the various kind of hospitality, the restaurants that are out there? And I think we can use that as a case to be made for expanding that option kind of going forward. right? We're getting smarter and better at what precautions work and how and what they do. So I would ask you to be talk to your members, get as much information as you can so we can make a strong case that we can safely expand in building dining. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. We've been on a big campaign. I was actually trying to be up here, but I lost my shared screen button. I'm sure it'll pop up in a minute. It's amazing the things we're starting to get good at and learning how to use. I didn't know how to use Zoom 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
and we'll go from there. Oh, here it is. With that, I sit on a Target Zero task force with the governor's office, really trying to get at a point where we can get better in restaurants and do our work. And we're finding some 5% of the industry is not complying. Typically, maybe more in the tavern or bar scene. And when we're seeing outbreaks, we're seeing them around masks and just not staying at the tables when they're dining. Any suggestions to us to how we can police ourselves or work together to educate that 5% that they're putting the rest of us at risk? I know some people view it as a political statement. Some just don't believe in it or are not paying attention. Any advice to us that how we can work together as a community to get that last 5% of businesses over that hump to really be compliant?
So I guess, first of all, the fact that you know it's 5%, the fact that you're focusing on this, the work you're doing, I applaud you, right? This is the thing that I would encourage is, again, if somebody wants to make a political statement, I think this is the wrong place to do it, particularly where it jeopardizes jobs. That would be my key focus. As I said before, for me, masking is easy. If it helps get one more business opened up in Pierce County, or if it gets a school opened and in-person education a little quicker, I'm all in. Those are worth the fact that I have to wear a mask. That's not the issue, right? So I would encourage you to encourage your 5% that they need to take that approach. They need to look out for the industry and our ability to move forward. How can we serve the people of Pierce County and in Washington State? Not, I'm making a political statement. There are plenty of other ways that you can make political statements. Tell them to make a political statement on their mask. But that would be the approach that I would take. This is a time when, whether you want it or not, masks have been effective. They are getting our numbers down, at least as all the data that we currently have says that when I look at where our increase in our July peak started coming down, I think it is most closely attributed to widespread mask use. And again, for me, it's all about anything we can do that'll get somebody back to work, anything we can do to get somebody back to school.
Again, I really appreciate that message and where that's at and where it's coming from, because we do need that and we do need to work together, because the clock is ticking on the industry. So the faster we go down, the better. What do you see when you're out there in restaurants and lodging? Any advice from, are you seeing, does what you view similar to our 95% assumption that we're seeing a lot of good compliance out there? People are working hard to try to support their community in that?
Yeah, I would say that. I'm seeing, certainly all the restaurants that I have been in, particularly, Gig Harbor, Puyallup, different parts of Pierce County, I would say. So first of all, we're big fans of takeout. We have, one of the things that we did in my office, for the folks that are on the executive team, we now do takeout every day for our office. The different people rotating payment, no taxpayer money involved, but we figured that was one of the ways that it gives us a chance to kind of come together in our large conference room, socially distanced, but it gives us a chance to come together in this crazy time, and also helps some of our local restaurateurs get through. So absolutely. The takeout, I think, is going going well. And I would tell you that both the outdoor and the indoor dining that I have been involved with, I've seen kind of responsibly, socially distant. The wait staff and the staff in the restaurant have always all been masked. You know, we unmask to eat and do that. So I think there's been good compliance. The question in my mind is at what point can we increase the capacity number, right?
Right.
At some point we've got to start working that. I know it's got to be so tough for your industry in particular. Is it viable at 25%? Is it viable at 50%? At what point does the business model work? That's the challenge. I know I've known some restaurants that have opened for takeout and then stopped doing it. They found that model wasn't really working for them. So I'm hoping that we can get to the point where more of our kind of restaurants can get through this. You know, obviously, you know, Pacific Grill, as you mentioned, Pacific Grill closing. That's really tough. The Swiss, yeah, two very different restaurants serving very different clientele. Go to each of them for very different purposes, but both really long time and important in our community, important options in our community, important gathering places. So the fact that we've lost that is really, really not good.
Well, we are making a push, Executive Dammeier, on going back to a phase 3 would be in 75% dining, and allowing more than one household to dine inside versus only outside when we lose that, and then allowing tables to move from 5 to 6, and then exploring some other options from how do we change the 6-foot rule and other things. So to the degree that we can continue to work with you, you've been great and very supportive of the business community, but I think we've got another big push in front of us if we're going to have to be in phase 3 for a while once we make this next change. If I can switch gears, when we set this, we had no idea that the smoke was coming in, right? It's just, all we're missing now is aliens from 2020, and we have it all. What can you do as far as what you're seeing on the smoke side? What are your support staff telling you as far as where is this headed, and what should operators be aware of?
Yeah, so you know, one of the amazing things about being Pierce County executive is my days are pretty well scheduled, pretty tightly, but frequently I wake up in the morning and we don't execute that schedule. And that was last Tuesday morning, not the one a week ago Tuesday, when I woke up and we had significant fires, 2 significant fires in Pierce County. And before 8 o'clock, I had been out to both fire sites and visited with the command staffs that were fighting those fires. And by 10:30, I had been up and surveilled both fires from our sheriff's airplane, which has forward FLIR. So it was a great tool to look at the hot spots and tell the folks who are battling the fires on the ground where their hot spots are. So it was, you know, an amazing, you know, how you come together to fight that. And I would tell you the way Pierce County responded to that, all of the fire agencies, the law enforcement agencies, was amazing to see people really, really, really pull together. And that, you know, I can tell you at 10:30 in the morning, we thought that we had things kind of cautiously optimistic. The Graham fire, which was a big concern early on because there were so many structures in close proximity, so many homes that were right in close proximity to that fire, were a very big concern. We had that one mostly kind of approaching control. And the Sumner Grade fire, at that point, we had good defensible lines all the way around it, including Highway 410, you know, 4 lanes of pavement and a Jersey barrier. We were cautiously optimistic with a commentary about kind of concern about possible wind in the afternoon. You know, I declared an emergency at about 2:30 that afternoon, just so we could get kind of the additional state resources involved. And by about 3:10, the wind picked up and that fire jumped all the way across 410 and started threatening, you know, hundreds of homes at that point. So I was really thankful that we had by that evening, by the time I went home at about 7 o'clock, left that fire site, there were, we were having engines rolling in from King County, from Central Kitsap. We had firefighters from Snohomish Valley, Calhoun County, Cowlitz County, Lewis County, you name it, we had people here. In addition to all of the Pierce County fire departments and agencies. We had kind of sheriff's department. We had the Puyallup Police, Sumner Police, Bonnie Lake Police. We had the Washington State Patrol, Pierce County Emergency Management controlling the evacuations. We had livestock boarded at the Frontier Park Fair grounds there. So it was great to see everybody come together and really step up in response to that. And I'm really thankful that we got through that. So for Pierce County, that was our big fire day. I finished up, speaking of hospitality, on my way from the Sumner Grade fire back to my house in Puyallup, I swung by the Tiffany's Skate Inn, which had an electrical fire. There was just, it was a long day dealing with going from fire site to fire site. So the good news is that our fires and our temperatures went down and we're still waiting for rain, but the fire threat is down obviously significantly. Then we got the smoke that is really not from Puget Sound. It obviously is from California and Oregon. And it has been obviously much more persistent than anything we would ever want to happen. One of the things that we do at the county and working with the city of Tacoma is we want to get safe sites where if people who are mostly outdoors can go and get into an indoor site where they can get to some kind of fresher air to breathe. That, interestingly, that was complicated by the fact that most of the sites that we had previously planned and worked with were churches. And many of those churches with COVID, we never envisioned a smoke problem overlaid with a COVID problem. So they had challenges from the COVID restrictions. So we had to come up with a couple different options. So I'm hoping that this smoke, obviously thought it would be gone on Tuesday, thought it would be gone on Thursday. Can't wait for it to go. But right now, as you point out, I can't see the Tacoma Dome from my office, which normally I can. So we're hoping that we can get a good rain, a good weather to clean this out, and let's get back to some semblance of normal. And with respect to what else could happen, I'm keeping a close eye on Mount Rainier.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Well, we got all the cranes locked down in the port, right? None of our restaurants.
Yes, exactly. Katy Downs is no longer a fender or a stopgap for a barge.
I was talking to Dan. I'm like, can you even believe it about Dan Hilger there at Katy Downs, and you wake up and there's a crane right over your restaurant. It's just insane. Well,
when I first saw that picture, I thought it was a spoof. I thought it was photoshopped, but nope. Truth is stranger than fiction right now.
It is. Hey, we got a couple of questions from members. One of them is, you mentioned you're trying to help operators. Reggie Frederick, I think Reggie's posted something here in the chat, but if they are struggling or they're trying to buy PPE, gotta get my acronyms right. What's the best way to communicate? Is it to reach out to Jennifer Collins or someone else? What's the best way to, I'm struggling. I hear you've got some COVID relief, but I'm a small operator. I don't really know process or how to connect. What's the best first step?
Yeah, Betty Capistani in our economic development department at Pierce County. She is spearheading the relief efforts for our business community. So she's got access to personal protective equipment. She's got access to what we call adaptation grants. If you need to, as you're looking at opening and how you reconfigure, if you need some money to help you do that, we have adaptation grants. We've got the rental assistance and mortgage assistance. So we've got a whole series of tools there. Betty Capistani, Pierce County Economic Development Department. She's the one who's spearheading all that.
Joe, if you get a chance to put her email in the chat room for people who would like to reach out to her, can you do that for me? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And that's for more, that money's for more than just restaurants, right? If someone
absolutely.
Here on the event industry, which if your entire world is getting people together socially and you built your business model and mortgage your home on it, and then this happens, right? And so
Yeah.
those kind of folks can also call and see if there's any help or availability for them as well, right?
Absolutely. And we've done one of the things that we've done is we provided some support for, the Tacoma Dome and the Greater Tacoma Convention Center and the theater district, right? As they start looking at what are the precautions that they need to take, touchless tickets, think of all the different technologies we're now using to limit interactions and to allow that. We're trying to help them get prepared as well. So it's the same kind of thing. As people think about how do you adapt to a COVID world? How are you going to operate in a COVID world? What is necessary to do that? We want to help you get there.
Great, and thank you for that approach, and thank you for putting that in the right spot. There's been other communities, we've been trying to remind them that, your businesses are one that are going to get you back from your budget perspective. Please use it to help us bridge that. So the fact that that's where you're looking, we really do appreciate it. We do have a question in the chat room. Lisa, there was some new rules on events last night. Can you cut and paste the link to that? And I think that also gives me the window to say, things are going to start changing here as we go from numbers are start dropping. We're seeing the governor's office start tweak a couple of rules at a time. Some of them will be big, some of them will be small. So please stay in touch with our website. Please check out your email. If you're not in regular contact with Tamara, who's your rep in Pierce County, or for that matter, Joe, who helps us bridge government affairs programs in Pierce County, things are going to start happening quickly, we hope. And so what those details are, you probably want to regularly check email and find out what's going on in that area. As we look towards the next stage on travel, right? Let's be optimists, right? We live in a beautiful county. We've got Mount Rainier. Point Ruston has just come along so beautifully. We've got had a great restaurant scene on 6th and on Main and the Puyallup Valley out towards Ordig. We got a cool place to travel and visit. As you've looked at COVID dollars and rounds of relief, most of our travel program is funded by hotel rooms, which have dropped significantly. How's been the conversation with Travel Tacoma and at the county council about when we get out of the crisis today and we look to the future, how we return to travel and the smart way to do so, and how do we promote ourselves? Has that occurred yet, or are we in too much crisis?
Well, at least I'll be honest, not in any of the discussions that I've been in. I'm thinking about how we come out of this. I will tell you that my family has been in printing in Pierce County since 1934. I'm still a partner in a printing company today. So we've been through a lot of ups and downs. We've been through recessions. We've been through world wars. And my dad always said, the key is not how you go in, it's how you come out, and coming out stronger, ready to move forward. And I think in many respects, Pierce County is better positioned or can come out of this stronger than we went in. A great example of that in my mind is one of our big challenges has been pre-COVID, we had about 140,000 people who lived in Pierce County that work in Seattle and King County. And if you think about that, that's a tough life, right? That's 3 hours of your day at least lost to that commute every day. That's quality of life robbed from you. That's money going into transportation. That's tailpipes going into our environment. That's congestion on our roads. So to the degree that we can keep a third of those, maybe we can keep 40,000 of those teleworking from Pierce County, only good things come from that, right? That means they aren't on our roads. Our roads are less congested. Our environment has less impact. They've got time that they found now 3 hours a day, and they are now, they're not having lunch in Seattle, they're having lunch in their local community in Pierce County. So I'm not trying to hurt Seattle of that, but that is money being spent in our community, in our restaurants here locally. I think part of what we have talked a lot about is how do we leverage technology? How do we move forward to get Pierce County toward a brighter position going forward than we had before? That's all good. We've been having a number of discussions with a number of businesses that are interested in relocating to Pierce County for a variety of reasons. That's all good. I want more jobs, more family wage jobs here in Pierce County. I want people to choose to live, work, and raise their family here in Pierce County. So that's a big part of that. You know, we do have a spectacular area when you can see Mount Rainier, when you can hike up there, when you can be on our waterfront. I mean, when you talk about going from the islands of Puget Sound to 14,410 feet at Mount Rainier, all within one county, it is just absolutely spectacular. I look forward to the point where we can do that. I have not been involved in any of those discussions kind of to date. But if you're talking Point Ruston, the one thing I will tell you is if you haven't had one of Owen's Meat's smoked pork chops, have you had one?
I haven't had one. I'll have to have one.
That's our go-to right now. They're about that big and about that thick, and you do about 3 or 4 minutes a side. They are delicious. They are so moist and so flavorful. So that's been one of our go-tos here locally, is swinging by Owen's Meats and getting some, if I'm doing barbecue at home, that's a good one.
Well, my son's working down there at Point Ruston, and we were there quite often, so we'll have to go try one. Got a couple of questions. I'm guessing we just have until 11 o'clock. Is that right? So
you bet. Absolutely. I got another meeting at 11.
I want to respect your time. Got a couple questions from members, so I'll stop talking and try to answer their questions. So one said, if we apply for rent assistance through Pierce County Economic Development, how long is that turnaround? Have you seen or heard anecdotes? What could kind of be the expectation if someone applies for relief and qualifies? How long is the turnaround?
They're doing very quick turnaround there. I think Betty's group, their goal is kind of trying to do it inside of a week, so they can, if you can get the information to them, we can get that turned around very quickly. We've done like over 503 so far. There's a bunch of that.
That's great.
Her organization is very entrepreneurial and very responsive.
Another question is, what is the requirement that would allow Pierce County to apply for phase 3 and get some improvements in the rules? Is it, what's the metric, or what do you feel like we need to hit as a county?
So this is the challenge. The structure, the Safe Start program that the governor laid out 4 months ago, the key metric that we're going to struggle with right now is what he calls the case rate. You've got to be down to under 25 cases per 100,000 population over a 14-day period. Where we are today is about 57. Oh, with a 6-day lag. So we're at about 57. Our cases that we're getting today was, I think yesterday was 26, but the case rate per 100,000 is higher than that. The number about is we need to get our cases per day down in about the 18 range to get to that 25 cases per 100,000. Now my question is whether that is, again, we haven't done this before, is whether that is expecting 25 a realistic and appropriate number. So that's the discussion that certainly in the next couple of weeks I plan to have with the governor. Is I understood that metric to begin with, but right now is particularly when we came down, we just came through a spike in July where the new cases went up, but hospitalizations and deaths did not. So the whole principle has been, if somebody gets sick, can we get them the care that they need? And I would tell you the one thing that I think we've really learned a lot about COVID is our ability as a healthcare system to care for somebody who's sick. The therapeutics that are available are much better today than certainly they were 4 months ago. So we can really head off people getting seriously sick, and certainly head off wherever, to a much greater degree, them dying.
Well, you've been awesome, and I feel like I'm grilling you. Let me give you the chance to flip the switch. what would you ask of us as an industry? Do you have any questions for us in the industry that would help you in your role? And then the question I'm going to follow that up with, is there any information you need from us that would support all the stuff you talked about to help us get reopened? So grill us a little bit.
So I would say for me, the hospital association, the businesses that are in your industry, tourism, restaurants, hotels, all that stuff, that's just a core part of who we are in Pierce County and what we do as Pierce County. So it is absolutely essential that we get people through this. And I am hoping that when we get to the other side, I'm hoping that businesses like the Pacific Grill can kind of recapitalize and make a restart at that point. I know that, my brother's is in restaurants and food. So I know it's on a good day, on a non-pandemic day, it's a challenging industry, right? It is a challenging industry. And with the changes that the pandemic has caused, I know people are just hanging on by their fingernails. So what I would say is we've got to make sure you come through, a key part of our community. If there's anything that we can do that we're not doing in Pierce County, let Betty know that as well. We want to be doing everything we can to be as helpful as possible to help you and your industry come through this.
Thank you so much. And then your leadership all along the way, but there's been some great highlights for us today. Message of hope and the encouragement and the support has been great. I look back to when we moved into phase 2 and the leadership role you took publicly to say we need to save our businesses. I hate to keep tapping on you. We're going to need it again in 2-3 weeks as we lose our outdoor dining. But to know that you're there and you're working for small business, we can't say thank you enough. So we appreciate that. Anything else for us before I want to respect your time, because I really do know that there's fires and other things going on. So
wear a mask, wash your hands, stay safe. Let's get to phase 3.
Let's do it. We're in. Thank you for everything. We look forward to continuing to working with you.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, we're going to hang on because we've got some other industry-specific questions that I want to try to answer, but I won't make them too long because I know everyone's got lunch hour or things coming up. One of the questions was on ESD, and they noticed some different things going on with their unemployment insurance claims, and is anyone else having those issues? And I think is right now, I don't mean to be an ESD defender, but they were just never built to handle this much volume, and they're trying to catch up. And then, of course, they've had those other public issues going on. I would say it would not surprise me at all if you're having issues with unemployment insurance claims, and not that you need anything more to do, but it's something I would stay on. People are repeatedly trying to scam the system. I myself have had someone get my information and apply for unemployment as if they were me and try to change my address. And that would have hit the association's UI rates had we not stayed on it or caught it. So yeah, Stephen, I think everyone's having issues. I think you have to stay on it. If you need some support from the association or you can't get through, reach out to tomorrow or so she can connect you to the right person to go from there. Furthermore, as we look to next year, we are expecting big increases. Even if you're able to keep your unemployment insurance claims down and or you socialize your costs because you use shared work or other systems as you connected your employees to the unemployment insurance system, our industry pre-COVID is predominantly does not use the UI system a lot. So we're in those lower rate classes of 1 through 5. And really the bulk of the costs we pay are the socialized costs. Well, those socialized costs are going to increase tremendously because of the volume that we've had here. So we're working to try to keep those UI rates down. But I would build some room as you look at menu pricing and next year's and assessing if you can go forward. No matter how successful we are, your UI rates are going to go up, and they're going to go up substantially. And I wish I had good news on that, but I also think it's my obligation to not worry about telling you the bad news and tell it to you so you can manage your business. So stay on your UI claims, contact us if you're having issues, but budget next year for a significant increase in UI. and we'll go from there. The good news is L&I just announced that they are not going to increase workers' comp rates next year. So any changes you have in your workers' comp rates will simply be related to your experience rating and not a tax increase itself, but not gonna take care of the increase we're gonna see on the unemployment insurance side. Joe or Lisa, have we gotten any other texts or messages in my ability to facilitate that I have missed? Any questions unanswered today?
I believe Reggie Frederick had his hand up earlier.
Oh, I can't see the hands. Reggie, can you hear us okay? Reggie, if you have a question, go ahead and text it into the thing because we can't hear you. And it could be on our side.
Yeah, we have it set up webinar style, so I think you have to invite him to unmute himself and talk. I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, so I bring up participants and I go down to Reggie's name and I hit something. Yep, let's go ahead and have you text in, Reggie, because apparently they put the wrong guy in charge of the mouse. So we'll go from there. I'll hand the mouse over to my staff, see if they can come up with that. Any other questions, Lisa or Joe, that have come in on text or chat? Okay, then I will leave people with the following thoughts. We're on a drive for 25. Keep wearing masks. If you've got neighbors in your industry who are not being compliant, have a conversation with them nicely. Use your relationships that we are making progress to get there, and we're only going to make progress and get the changes we needed if government has the trust that our industry will do the right thing. And so keep going there. Also, really watch your email and stay in touch with tomorrow in the next 3 weeks, because my guess is if something breaks, it's going to break fast and it's going to be substantial. So if we can keep making progress, I want you to get the latest news as it happens, and we'll go from there. Let's everyone hope for wind that blows the smoke out of Pierce County, and we can maybe get our decks back for the weekend. Maybe we can watch some Seahawks on Sunday night with good weather outside, and we can go from there. Everyone, we think about you constantly. We're doing everything we can to help you succeed.